What's up YouTube? I'm Brutality, and this is Knowledge Drop. Welcome to the series where I bring you some facts about some classic video games. And today I decided to cover the game Contra. Now Contra was one of my favorite games growing up. I played it all the time and still play it to this very day, almost 30 years after its release. For those of you who don't know, Contra is a side-scrolling run-and-gun game released in 1988 for the NES. It became a major hit for its simultaneous co-op gameplay, beautiful background, and perfect level design. We're going to drop 10 facts about Contra. Let's go. Fact number 1. The original Contra was actually released in 1987 as a coin-operated arcade game. In fact, this cabinet was one of the first arcade games to feature an upright screen. Konami says the reason for this is the pseudo 3D environments in which you're in a hallway, walking away from the player. Fact number 2. This is the cover art for the US release in Contra. If the characters look a little familiar, it's because they are. In fact, the artist Bob Wakelin has even been quoted saying, "A Predator Alien ripoff was what the game appeared to be, so I supplied a Predator Alien style pic with ripped Arnie and Predator poses, a thoroughly boring job, although a couple of my survivalist, bodybuilding, NAM-obsessed mates thought it was cool." Talking about getting away with plagiarism, you can't even put a sound effect in a video without hitting copyright these days. Fact number 3. Since we're on the topic of copied art and borrowed ideas, does this look familiar to you? Yep, that's right, that's a Xenomorph. And it's not the only borrowed art from the Alien franchise, or more respectfully, H.R. Geiger. In the final level that plays out more like one big boss fight, we first come across Emperor Demon Dragon God Java, an alien head that looks almost identical to a Xenomorph, spitting out these things that look similar to artwork from Metroid. Then again, in the same level, you encounter a Emperor Demon Evil Heart. Yeah, a heart. With pods that spit an unending supply of spider thingies that just so happen to look like the pods and face huggers from Aliens. Number 4. Although the game is played man versus alien or robot versus robot, more on that later, it has been said that the game refers to the Contras, a group of CIA-backed Nicaraguan rebels who were frequently in the news in the United States. Although it was never officially announced if the game was named after the rebels, the ending theme of the original title was called Sandista, after the adversaries of the real-life Contras. In order to avoid controversy, the sequel was subsequently named Super C to distance itself and the franchise from the scandal and politics that were unfolding. Number 5. The characters actually had names. And by this I mean full names, not just cool code names. Before being ported over to the NES, our heroes' names were PFC Bill Riser and PFC Lance Bean. But just like the character design that went from uniqueness on the arcade version to just a mere palette swap on the NES version, because the NES had graphical and hardware limitations, the names were just shortened to Scorpion and Mad Dog. Fact number 6. Up, up, down, down, left, right, BA start, or the Konami code, is easily the most recognizable cheat code to date. That may have something to do with the fact that it was actually the first cheat code put in by developers so they could properly test their game. Originally implemented in Gradius as a way to start with more lives and unlock all the power-ups, so that way they could thoroughly test the game. What does this have to do with Contra? For 2 years the code was relatively unknown until Contra popularized it. You punch that code in at the start screen, boom, 30 lives. And if you go through all those, at the game over screen where you get the option to continue, you don't even have to enter the code in the second time, and you can start again with 30 lives. Number 7. Releasing various versions of games for different regions is nothing new. In fact, Contra released 3 separate titles. Even though the Japanese and American were identical with the exception of the title screen, the European version entitled Greiser had implemented an alternate playstyle as opposed to the simultaneous co-op versions that were released elsewhere, which was considered an odd move by some due to the fact that the ability to play simultaneously was one of the main selling points of the game in the first place. It was not common on home consoles at the time. Number 8. Speaking of various versions of the game, the German version of Contra was released in 1990. It was reskinned with robot heroes and villains and retitled Probotector. This was to get around the BPJM censorship laws, which banned the sale of games depicting human-on-human violence and glorifying war. Although varied throughout the years, this law is still in effect today, with games like the Doom reboot being the first of the Doom games this year to be sold in Germany. Number 9. There is no question amongst gamers and critics alike that Contra is a classic staple of 8-bit gaming. But what is truly amazing is a series of games that would be a part of this franchise 30 years later. To this day, there are 13 console games, 1 mobile, and 2 slot machines. As if video games didn't cost enough. Unfortunately, not all the Contra dreams have come to pass. There were 4 games being developed for the Sega CD, the N64, GameCube, and the Nintendo 3DS that were all canceled. Most notably was Contra Spirits for the N64. It was announced, however, was eventually canceled due to the development team disbanding after poor sales of the N64 in Japan. 10. At the time, Contra was considered incredibly difficult, hence the implementation of the Konami code by the developers. Think of it kind of like a Dark Souls for yesteryear. In an article dating way back to 2007, 20 years after the game's release, IGN listed Contra as the hardest game to beat of all time, stating that the game was virtually impossible to beat without the use of the Konami code. This list, Contra even beat out Battletoads and the infamous Turbo Tunnel level. Alright, well that's going to wrap it up. Thanks for watching Knowledge Drop. Hopefully you'll walk away from this just a little bit smarter and know a little bit more about your classic video games. I'm Brutality, thank you for watching. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button to help the channel grow. Thank you very much, and we'll see you next time.